Ever catch yourself? Like wishing you could just upgrade your brain.
Yeah.
Like ditch the procrastination.
Right.
Supercharge your focus.
Right.
Maybe even reprogram those like
Yeah.
pesky negative thought loops.
Totally.
Well, guess what?
Hmm.
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Oh, cool.
The fascinating world of mind hacking.
Love it.
We've got this lecture called Mastering Your Mind.
Oh.
That's packed with insights
Yeah.
from neuroscience,
Yeah.
psychology,
Yeah.
you name it.
Awesome.
We're going to unearth the real gems here and see how much of this is like hype
Yeah.
and how much is truly like
Yeah.
brain-altering science.
I think what's so captivating about mind hacking
Yeah.
is that it's tapping into this
Right.
primal human desire to push our limits.
Yeah.
But this time, the frontier is our own minds.
It's like we've explored the outer world for so long.
Right. Yeah.
And now the ultimate adventure is turning inward.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the lecture starts by laying out this idea
Okay.
that mind hacking is all about
Uh-huh.
intentionally changing our mental processes
Yeah.
to get the results we want.
Right.
But how much control do we actually have? I mean,
Yeah.
is it really like rewiring a computer?
It's not.
That's good.
It's not quite as simple as like swapping out a hard drive.
Right.
But we do have more agency than
Okay.
we might think.
Okay.
The key here is neuroplasticity.
Oh, yeah.
You've probably heard the term, but it's truly revolutionary.
Yeah.
Our brains are constantly adapting, forming new connections throughout our lives.
So it's not like we're stuck with the brain we were born with.
No,
We can actually mold it.
exactly.
Wow.
Every time you learn a new skill,
Yeah.
pick up a habit.
Yeah.
Even just think a thought.
Oh.
You're altering those neural pathways.
Okay.
Mind hacking takes this natural process and puts you in the driver's seat.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of just letting our brains run on autopilot, we're intentionally shaping those neural connections.
Right.
The lecture dives into cognitive behavioral science,
Okay.
which feels like a crucial piece of the puzzle here.
Uh-huh.
But I have to admit,
Yeah.
it's a field that can sometimes feel a bit academic.
Right.
How does it actually connect
Okay.
to mind hacking in a practical way?
Cognitive behavioral science, or CBT, is all about understanding the link between our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors.
Right.
It's incredibly empowering because it shows us that we don't have to be victims of our own minds. We can learn to identify and challenge unhelpful thought patterns that might be holding us back.
So for someone who's constantly battling self-doubt,
Yeah.
could CBT actually help them reframe those thoughts
Totally.
and build more confidence?
Absolutely.
Wow.
One of the core principles of CBT is that our thoughts aren't always accurate reflections of reality.
Okay.
Often they're distorted by our own biases and experiences.
Right.
Mind hacking borrows this concept
Okay.
and uses techniques
Yeah.
like cognitive reframing to help us challenge those negative thoughts and replace them with more balanced and empowering ones.
So it's not about ignoring problems or pretending everything's perfect.
Right.
It's about choosing a more helpful way
Exactly.
to interpret situations.
It's about becoming aware
Right.
of those automatic negative thoughts and then
Okay.
consciously choosing to replace them with more constructive ones.
Okay.
And the more we practice this,
Yeah.
the more we're literally rewiring our brains to think in a more positive and resilient way.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
It's like we're taking back control of the narrative in our own minds.
Totally.
Now, the lecture also mentions this thing
Okay.
called the default mode network,
Yeah.
or DMN. Sounds kind of ominous.
Right.
Is this like the brain's evil twin?
Not necessarily evil,
Okay.
but definitely a source of both creativity
Okay.
and distraction.
Interesting.
The DMN
Okay.
is essentially a network of brain regions that becomes active when we're not focused on a specific task.
Okay.
It's that state of mind wandering, daydreaming, and ruminating that we all experience.
Oh, so that explains why I can never seem to resist going down those internet rabbit holes when I'm supposed to be working.
Totally.
Is it even possible to control this thing?
The key is not to eliminate the DMN entirely, because it does have its benefits. It's linked to creative thinking, problem solving, and self-reflection.
So it's not all bad.
No.
Mind hacking aims to help us manage the DMN.
Yeah.
So we can harness its power for good.
Exactly.
Without letting it derail our focus.
Right.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between focused attention and allowing our minds to wander creatively.
Right.
Are there specific techniques that can help us do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is where mindfulness and meditation come in.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just about relaxation. They're actually training your brain to become more aware of those mental shifts.
Right.
When you notice your mind wandering, you can gently bring it back to the present moment.
Okay, so mindfulness is more than just a buzzword.
Right.
It's an actual skill we can develop.
Exactly.
To manage our attention. And the lecture claims that it actually changes the brain, like physically.
The research on mindfulness is truly compelling. Studies have shown that regular practice can actually increase gray matter in areas of the brain associated with focus, emotional regulation, and self-awareness.
Wow.
It can also reduce activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, which helps us manage stress and anxiety.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is.
I'm starting to see why mindfulness is considered a cornerstone of mind hacking.
It's like a foundation for all the other techniques we'll be exploring. By cultivating a more present and aware state of mind, we're creating the ideal conditions for focused attention, emotional regulation, and ultimately for rewiring our brains for the outcomes we desire.
Right. So mindfulness is in our toolkit. What else should we add?
Right.
The lecture mentions visualization.
Yeah.
Affirmations, even things like biofeedback and brainwave entrainment.
It's fascinating how we've gone from mindfulness, this like ancient practice, to cutting edge tech that can literally measure and manipulate our brainwaves. The lecture dives into some pretty wild stuff.
That's what I love about mind hacking. It's this blend of ancient wisdom and futuristic technology.
Totally.
Okay, so let's talk tech.
Okay.
Neurofeedback is something I've been hearing a lot about lately.
Right.
The lecture describes it as a way to train your brainwaves using real-time feedback.
Yeah.
But how does that actually work?
Okay.
I mean, are we talking about strapping electrodes to our heads and plugging into the matrix?
It's not quite that sci-fi, though it can feel pretty futuristic.
Right.
Neurofeedback involves wearing sensors that monitor your brainwave activity and then provide feedback, usually through visual or auditory cues. Let's say you're trying to improve your focus.
Okay.
The neurofeedback system would detect when your brainwaves shift into a more focused state and reward you with a positive signal, like a pleasant sound or a changing image.
So it's like your brain is playing a video game where the goal is to achieve a specific mental state.
Exactly. And over time, your brain learns to associate those positive signals with the desired state, making it easier to achieve and maintain that state in the future.
So could this be used to treat conditions like ADHD?
Yeah.
Where focus is a major challenge.
That's one of the most promising applications of neurofeedback. Studies have shown that neurofeedback can be effective in reducing ADHD symptoms by training the brain to increase activity in areas associated with attention and impulse control.
Interesting.
It's also being explored as a potential treatment for anxiety, depression, and even insomnia.
That's incredible.
It is pretty amazing.
It seems like we're on the verge of a revolution in mental health treatment.
Yeah.
But I imagine there are also some limitations and potential downsides to consider.
You're right.
Okay.
It's important to approach neurofeedback with realistic expectations. It's not a quick fix. And it requires consistent effort and commitment to see results. Also, not all neurofeedback systems are created equal. It's essential to work with a qualified practitioner who uses evidence-based methods and can tailor the treatment to your individual needs.
So it's not something you just want to try on your own with a random app you find online.
Definitely not.
Okay.
It's crucial to do your research and find a reputable provider.
Okay, so neurofeedback is definitely something I'm going to be looking into further.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
What about other tech-based mind hacking tools?
Okay.
The lecture briefly mentions brainwave entrainment.
Right.
What is that all about?
Brainwave entrainment is a technique that uses auditory or visual stimuli to influence your brainwave frequencies. The idea is that by exposing your brain to specific frequencies, you can encourage it to synchronize with those frequencies, leading to changes in your mental state.
So if I listen to certain sounds, it can actually alter my brainwaves.
Exactly.
Wow.
One popular method is binaural beats, where you listen to two slightly different frequencies, one in each ear. Your brain perceives a third beat, which is the difference between the two frequencies. And this beat is thought to entrain your brain waves to that specific frequency.
Okay. This is getting a little trippy.
It is kind of wild.
So if I want to relax, I would listen to binaural beats that are in the alpha frequency range. Which is associated with a relaxed state.
That's right.
Okay.
And if you're looking to boost your focus, you might try binaural beats in the beta frequency range. There are also programs that use light and sound to stimulate different brainwave patterns.
Wow, so I could literally put on headphones and shift my mental state on demand.
While the research is still emerging, there's growing evidence to suggest that brainwave entrainment can be an effective tool for influencing mood, focus, and even sleep patterns. However, it's important to note that not everyone responds the same way to these stimuli. What works for one person might not work for another.
So experimentation is key. Find what works for you.
Exactly.
Okay. This is all blowing my mind a little bit.
I know, it's a lot to take in.
It seems like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with technology and mind hacking.
Totally.
But let's bring it back to the basics for a moment.
Okay.
What about those good old-fashioned mind hacking techniques that don't involve any fancy gadgets?
Those are still foundational, even in this age of high tech. The lecture spends quite a bit of time on affirmations. And I know those can get a bad rap for being a bit cheesy. But there's actually some interesting science behind how they work.
Yeah, I used to think affirmations were just about repeating positive phrases until you tricked yourself into believing them. But I'm curious to hear what the science has to say.
It's not about tricking yourself, but about consciously shifting your mindset. When you repeat affirmations regularly, especially if they're specific and emotionally resonant, you're essentially creating new neural pathways in your brain. These pathways become stronger through repetition, making it more likely that you'll actually believe and embody those positive statements over time.
So it's about rewiring your brain at a subconscious level.
Exactly. It's about changing those deeply ingrained beliefs that might be holding you back.
And the more you practice affirmations, the more those positive beliefs become your default setting.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
It's like planting seeds in your mind and then nurturing them with repetition and intention.
That's a great analogy.
And just like with any seed, it takes time and consistency to see the fruits of your labor.
Okay, so affirmations are back on the table.
They are.
What about visualization?
Okay.
That's another technique that's always intrigued me. Is it really true that just by imagining something, you can actually change your brain and improve your performance?
Visualization is more than just wishful thinking. It's a powerful tool that leverages the brain's incredible capacity for mental imagery. When you vividly imagine yourself performing an action, your brain activates many of the same neural pathways that would be involved in actually performing that action.
So it's like a mental rehearsal.
Exactly. And the more detailed and emotionally engaging the visualization, the more powerful the effect. Athletes have been using visualization for decades to improve their performance. And now research is showing that it can be effective for a wide range of skills and goals.
So if I want to get better at public speaking, I should visualize myself
Right.
giving a killer presentation.
Yeah.
Feeling confident and engaging the audience.
That's a great example.
Okay.
By repeatedly visualizing yourself succeeding, you're essentially programming your brain for success. You're building the neural pathways that will support you when you actually step on that stage.
That's fascinating.
It is.
I'm definitely going to be incorporating visualization into my own mind-hacking practice.
Yeah, that's a great tool.
Now let's talk about habits.
Okay.
We all have them.
Right.
Some good.
Yeah.
Some not so good. How can we hack our habits to create positive changes in our lives?
Habits are essentially automated behaviors that our brains have learned to perform with minimal conscious effort. They're ingrained in our neural circuitry, which is why they can be so hard to break.
Yeah.
But the good news is we can rewire those circuits.
So that's not a hopeless battle.
No.
We can actually change those brain patterns.
Absolutely. The key is to work with our brains, not against them.
Right.
One effective strategy is called habit stacking.
Oh, yeah?
Which the lecture mentions. It involves linking a new habit you want to form with an existing habit that's already well established.
So, for example, if I want to start meditating every morning, I could stack that habit onto my morning coffee routine. After I make my coffee, I meditate for 5 minutes.
Exactly. By linking the new habit to an existing trigger, you're essentially piggybacking on the existing neural pathways, making it easier for your brain to adopt the new behavior.
That's brilliant.
That's a clever strategy.
It takes the pressure off.
Right.
Trying to create a whole new routine from scratch.
What about breaking bad habits? Is there a hack for that?
I'm all ears.
One effective approach is to focus on disrupting the habit loop, which consists of a trigger, a routine, and a reward. If you can identify the trigger, that sets off the bad habit. You can either avoid it or find a way to replace the routine with a more desirable behavior.
So if I have a habit of mindlessly scrolling through social media, every time I pick up my phone, I could replace that routine with something more productive.
Exactly.
Like reading a book or listening to a podcast.
And it's important to find a new reward that's equally or more satisfying than the reward you were getting from the bad habit.
So instead of the dopamine hit from social media, I might get a sense of accomplishment from finishing a chapter in a book or learning something new from a podcast.
That's right. It's all about rewiring those reward pathways in your brain.
This is all so fascinating.
It is pretty cool.
It really empowers us to take control of our habits and create positive changes in our lives.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about something that I think everyone struggles with from time to time. Procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a mind hack that can help us overcome this universal challenge?
Procrastination is often rooted in fear, anxiety, or a lack of motivation. One effective mind hack is the Pomodoro technique.
Oh, yeah?
Which you mentioned earlier. It involves breaking work down into focused intervals, typically 25 minutes, followed by short breaks.
I've actually tried the Pomodoro technique, and I have to say, it's been a game changer for my productivity. But why is it so effective? Is it just about time management, or is there something deeper going on?
It's about working with our brains, natural rhythms. Our attention spans are limited, and trying to force ourselves to focus for hours on end can lead to burnout and decreased productivity. The Pomodoro technique recognizes this and provides built-in breaks to help us stay refreshed and focused.
Well, it's like giving our brains a little reward for staying on task.
Exactly. And the short bursts of focused work can actually trigger the release of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter associated with motivation and pleasure. This can create a positive feedback loop, making it more likely that we'll stick with the task and make progress.
It's like we're hacking our own reward system.
Yeah, in a way.
That's brilliant.
It's a clever technique.
Now, before we move on, I want to address something that I think a lot of people struggle with. especially when it comes to mind hacking,
Right.
self-doubt, and that pesky inner critic.
Oh, yeah. We all have that.
How can we silence that voice?
Right.
And cultivate a more supportive inner dialogue?
That inner critic is a product of our evolutionary wiring.
Okay.
It's designed to protect us from harm.
Right.
And keep us safe.
But sometimes it can go into overdrive.
Yeah.
Leading to excessive self-criticism.
Right.
And holding us back from reaching our full potential.
It's like having a constant stream of negative thoughts
Right.
running through our heads.
It can be exhausting and debilitating.
It can.
The key is to recognize that those thoughts are just thoughts, not necessarily truths.
Exactly.
Mind hacking provides us with tools to identify those negative thoughts, challenge their validity, and replace them with more supportive and empowering ones.
So instead of believing everything, our inner critic tells us we can learn to question those thoughts and choose a different perspective.
It's like becoming the CEO of your own mind.
Yeah.
And making conscious choices about what you allow to take up space in your mental landscape.
It's like decluttering your mind and making room for more positive and productive thoughts.
And the more we practice this, the more we're rewiring our brains for self-compassion and resilience.
This is all so empowering.
It is.
It really gives us a sense of agency over our own thoughts and emotions.
Now, I'm curious to delve a little deeper into how all of this connects to our overall well-being.
Yeah.
We've talked about the cognitive benefits of mind hacking, but what about its impact on our emotional and psychological health? It feels like we've been on this whirlwind tour of the brain, from the nitty-gritty of neurons to these wild, futuristic tech tools.
Yeah. It's a lot.
But I keep coming back to this. What does mind hacking actually do for how we live our lives? Is it just about getting more done? Or is there something deeper happening?
I think it's about becoming the best version of yourself. Not just in terms of productivity, but in how you handle stress, navigate relationships, and even find meaning in your day-to-day experience.
So it's about more than just checking things off a to-do list. It's about feeling better, being more resilient, maybe even happier.
Exactly. The lecture makes this point really well. Mind hacking is about well-being, not just doing. And the fascinating thing is a lot of the techniques we've talked about have these ripple effects. You start with mindfulness to improve your focus. But then suddenly you're noticing you're less reactive to stress. Your relationships are smoother.
So it's like upgrading your mental operating system and everything runs better?
That's a great way to put it. And the lecture goes into some specific areas where mind hacking can have a huge impact on well-being. One that really struck me is managing stress and anxiety.
Because we live in a world that's constantly bombarding us with information and demands.
It's no wonder so many people are feeling overwhelmed.
So how does mind hacking help us deal with that onslaught? It's not like we can just meditate our way out of a crazy work deadline or a family crisis.
You're right. It's not about avoiding stress altogether. It's about how we respond to it. Mindfulness, for example, helps us create that space between the stressful trigger and our reaction. Instead of getting immediately swept up in panic or anger, we can pause, observe our thoughts and feelings, and choose a more skillful response.
So it's like hitting that pause button instead of letting our emotions hijack the situation.
Precisely. And then there's cognitive reframing, which we touched on earlier. It's about
consciously changing how we interpret events. Instead of seeing a challenge as a threat, we can choose to see it as an opportunity for growth.
But sometimes things just straight up suck. How do you reframe a flat tire when you're already late for work?
Even in those moments, there's a choice. You can choose to spiral into frustration and anger. Or you can choose to accept the situation
Okay.
Focus on finding a solution and maybe even find a bit of humor in the absurdity of it all.
I guess it's about not adding extra suffering on top of the situation itself.
And the more we practice these techniques, the more we build those mental muscles of resilience and emotional regulation.
Okay. But what about those days when everything feels gray?
Yeah.
And it's hard to find any positives.
Right.
The lecture talks about gratitude, but honestly,
sometimes that feels a bit forced.
I get that.
Okay.
But gratitude isn't about denying the negative. It's about intentionally shifting our focus, even if it's just for a few moments.
Right.
To acknowledge the good things.
Okay.
No matter how small.
So it's like a mental reset button.
Think of it as training your brain to notice and appreciate the things we often take for granted.
Yeah, like what?
A warm cup of coffee.
Right.
A sunny day.
Yeah.
A moment of connection with a loved one.
And the lecture claims this actually impacts our brain chemistry.
There's a growing body of research showing that practicing gratitude can actually increase levels of dopamine and serotonin, which are neurotransmitters associated with happiness and well-being.
So it's like giving your brain a dose of happy chemicals.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light. But what about those deeper existential questions?
Okay.
Like, what's my purpose? What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Can mind hacking help with that too?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Mind hacking is about taking ownership of your life. And that includes defining your own values and goals. It's about living intentionally, not just drifting through life on autopilot.
I think what a lot of people crave is that feeling of being in the driver's seat, of having control over their own destiny.
And that's where a growth mindset comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Which the lecture emphasizes as being so crucial for long-term well-being. It's about believing that you can always learn, grow, and evolve, no matter what challenges you face.
So instead of saying, I'm not good at this, it's more like, I'm not good at this yet.
Exactly. It's about embracing challenges as opportunities for learning. And seeing setbacks as stepping stones, not roadblocks.
I love that.
It's a powerful shift.
It's like reframing failure as part of the process. Not the end of the story.
Precisely. And when you adopt a growth mindset, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities.
Wow.
You're no longer limited by your perceived limitations, but empowered to keep stretching and expanding your potential.
This whole deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
It's been fun exploring this with you.
I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on the power of the mind and how we can harness it to create positive change.
Totally.
But as we wrap up, I'd love to hear your final thoughts. What's the one takeaway you want our listener to walk away with?
Mind hacking isn't about tricks or shortcuts.
It's about a commitment to understanding and mastering your own mind. It's about showing up for yourself day after day and doing the work to create the life you want.
Wow.
And the amazing thing is, the more you invest in this journey, the more rewarding it becomes.
It's like we've been given this incredible gift, this powerful, adaptable brain, and mind hacking is about learning to use it to its full potential.
That's beautifully put.
And the journey never really ends.
It doesn't.
There's always more to discover, more to learn, more to grow.
Totally.
So as we sign off, I want to encourage our listener to keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep pushing those boundaries. The possibilities are truly limitless.